Hey, my name is Salim Killo. I'm here at Richland Chronicle Studios in Dallas, Texas on March 7, 2014. I'm joined here by Nick Ahlquist, a veteran and student at Richland College. Nick,
Hey.
it's nice to meet you.
Nice to be here.
So Nick, where were you born?
I was born here in Garland, Texas on May 31st, 1984.
Okay. What were your parents' occupations?
My dad is a software engineer, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom for most of the time I was a kid. Right now, she's doing equine therapy.
It's the first, I've never heard of that. When did you serve, and what branch did you serve in?
I served from May 2006 to about March 2011. Yeah, 2011. I was in the Army.
In the Army?
Yeah.
What was your highest rank?
It's a funny thing. I got promoted upon discharge because I got a medical discharge. I'd spent so much time in the previous rank, it was assumed that I would have made it to the next rank. So I got promoted to sergeant upon discharge.
Okay.
I'm a medically retarded sergeant.
Please tell me, what were you doing before you entered the service?
I was working at a movie theater, Theater 3, down the hall on the left. Yeah.
Did you have any other family members serve in the military?
Yeah, I had an aunt who was a doctor in the Air Force.
Okay. How did you enter? Were you enlisted? Were you drafted?
No draft. I enlisted. I was thinking about enlisting in January of 2006. I made the decision to go to the recruiter's office in March, and I actually signed the paperwork in May.
Okay. What was the reason you enlisted?
The reason I enlisted was the Army, well, military life in general, offered a lot of the things that I wanted. It offered a sizable paycheck, something I could live off of. It offered career advancement. It offered college education. It offered a sense of pride. So,
Okay.
I mean, going from being 22 years old and living with my parents to, I needed something more, and it offered a lot of that.
All right, and what was the reason why you chose the Army specifically? Since you do have a slight history with the Air Force. Why?
I picked the Army because they had the flashiest website. It was a random decision. It was throwing a dart at a board.
Did you enlist for a specific training? Did you have an MOS appeal to you, or?
Yeah. When you sign the contract, it's for a specific MOS, specific job. I signed up. I signed a 6-year contract doing being what's called a 15 Gulf aircraft structural repair.
Okay. And so your occupation was to repair planes or
helicopters mostly. Planes are much more Air Force territory, but yeah, helicopters mostly.
Okay.
Drill, hammer, cut, bend, hammer, that kind of thing.
So please describe to me, what was it like adapting to the military lifestyle? Was the challenge, the biggest challenge, was it basic training? Was it barracks in life, military food, the people?
Oh, the people were a challenge, but I've been challenged by people before. No,
okay.
I think barracks life, like being a single soldier, you don't really have your space anymore. You have Army space that you're using. So not having my own room, so to speak. I mean, there's lots of things you can do with it, but it still has to be kept up to a certain standard. And I mean, obviously your room shouldn't be dirty or anything like that, but it just, keeping up to the Army standard.
Okay. Where were your permanent duty stations during your enlistment?
My permanent duty station, my first one was Fort Wainwright in Alaska. I came in December 2006. I officially left Wainwright in December 2009, and I spent a year of that time in Mosul, Iraq, from summer 2008 to summer 2009.
Okay,
and after that, I went to Fort Drum in northern New York until March of 2011 when I got out.
Okay. And in all those locations, those stations, were you doing the same thing as?
Yep. Still doing aircraft work. There was a brief stint there. Sometimes people get picked to do temporary jobs. There was a couple months there where I was doing office work, so that was wonderful. But yeah, for the most, you're for the most part, the job doesn't change. The MOS doesn't change.
Okay. Did you see any combat during your enlistment in your time there?
I had no direct confrontations, no eyes on enemy, but there was lots of rocket fire, mortar fire,
Okay.
indirect attacks, that kind of thing.
Okay, and tell me all about your memorable non-combat experiences, like from pranks to, you know, the brotherhood or.
The brotherhood's kind of a funny thing. It varies in intensity depending on who you're dealing with. I mean, because the military tracks all different kinds of life, so
Yeah.
different people jive together differently, even if you're in uniform. As far as pranks go, the biggest thing was somebody got like made into a cake for their birthday. They had eggs and milk and flour dumped on them. As far as the most memorable, the one that sticks out the most was I got a coin. It's a coin. It's a sort of a reward, like a prestigious, you know, thank you. That's not necessarily a ribbon, but as much as a reward without being a ribbon that a unit gives out. I got that in my Warrior Leaders course schooling in southern Alaska, Fort Richardson.
Okay, that's pretty cool, man. So those coins, actually, you already talked about the coins. How did you stay in touch with your family?
Cell phone.
Cell phone?
Yeah.
They allowed that at.
Once you get out of training, or at least once I got out of training and get your permanent duty station, they let you have like all of the accommodations of life. So I mean, if you want to set up a TV and a PlayStation in your room, you want to have a cell phone, you want to have a landline phone, that's all fine. So, but when I was in training, when I was going through basic and aircraft structural training, I used like payphones. I think I wrote a letter or two.
I like to consider myself as a fat man at heart. You know, I love to eat. You know, food is probably it's a beautiful thing. You know, food is art to me. So the hardest part about joining the Army, from what I've heard, would be the food. What was the food like? Was it prison food type?
No, I mean it varied. I will say that hunger is a remarkable remedy for taste. The food that I ate in basic training was some of the most delicious food I've ever had. That might have a lot to do with the fact that I was starving most of the time. They work you pretty hard, so when it's time to eat, it's time to eat. But I mean, it depends. How necessary the dining facility is, like how many people have to eat there, has a lot to do with the quality of the food. So in training, you have to eat there. Like, there's not a lot of variance with that.
Okay.
Once you get to your permanent duty station, it's free reign. So you can go to McDonald's, you can make scrambled eggs in your room if you got I mean, you have options.
Okay.
But yeah, when you have to eat at the dining facility, it's pretty good. When you don't have to eat there, it can be all right. I mean, I would never call it prison food. It was never terrible, but like, oh God, what did I just eat? But no, I mean, it was all right. It was decent.
Okay. How did you feel about the support for you and your comrades by Americans back at home?
I felt pretty good about it for the most part. I mean, it's sort of like if you ever got a gift for a little kid and their parents, like, now say thank you, and they're like, thank you. Like, they don't really know what they're thanking you for. They're thanking you because they know they should. Like, if you help someone build their house, like side by side with them, like, they see your effort. They see what you do. They know what they're thanking you for. Whereas when someone's thanking someone in the military, I mean, that's a great thing, but it's an amorphous idea of all the things that they imagine military people are doing. Like, I don't know if they thought that I was going out on patrols or anything. I mean, I was, staying on the base fixing helicopters. So I mean, it's nice to have the support rather than blind support rather than blind disregard or blind dislike. So the support was great, but I mean, it felt a little awkward sometimes because it's like you're just thanking me because you think you should.
Yeah. So did you was there something that you had as a good luck charm? Like, say, did you put Tootsie Roll in your backpack or something? Did you sleep with your boots on, or?
Well, I mean, in certain situations, like when you're doing field exercises, like you keep your weapon, even though you're just practicing with it. You're stateside. There's no actual enemy threat, but you keep your weapon within arm's distance. So you've always got that on you. And then there's the tradition of naming your weapons. So that was always a thing. I always had Sylvia or Rosie nearby.
Rosie.
But as far as good luck charms or rituals, I like the Soldier's Creed. I said that a lot. Just to myself sometimes, just under my breath as I was going along. Just Soldier's Creed like a company's mission statement, so to speak. It's something that, regardless of where you are in the company or what you're doing, it's something that you can get behind. Something that informs what you are doing. So that's what the Soldier's Creed was for me, and it was nourishing sometimes. It really helped a lot.
Okay. How did you and your friends entertain themselves?
And again, it's like college dorm room life. So I mean, you got PlayStations, you got people acting a fool, people getting more drunk than they should. I mean, think college dorm and you'll get in military barracks life.
Okay. What did you do on your leaves? Did you still wake up at a certain time, or did you?
No. No. When I was on vacation, I was on vacation. The scenes came out, and I sprawled. I would go to bed at 1 in the morning, wake up at noon, eat ice cream. It was. Yeah.
You went all in.
Went all in, yeah.
Please tell me about any particular humorous, unusual, events that you saw or experienced. Something that is out of the ordinary, even for military lifestyle.
Okay, so I got this for you. Sort of going back to the on leave thing.
Yeah.
When I was in Iraq, they send you on R&R, and it's a 2-week vacation to anywhere that you can. I mean, obviously, if you're going to a different country, you're going to need a passport. But if you're going to go stateside, you're fine. So I took my R&R in Vegas, and Vegas was Vegas. It was great. So my last day in Vegas, I've taken the last of my gambling money, and I just sit down at the roulette table, and I'm just like whatever. I'm just gonna let it go. I was at that roulette table for 9 hours, from like 2 in the afternoon to close to 10 o'clock at night or something, and I walked away with quite a hefty chunk of change. Now the problem was that was my last day there. I was getting my plane ride back the very next day.
Yeah.
So I had thousands of dollars in cash on my person, no way to deposit it because all the banks are closed at 10 o'clock at night, and nothing's going to open at 6 o'clock in the morning when I needed to catch my flight. So I ended up stuffing it in my pockets and making an international flight from Las Vegas, Nevada to Mosul, Iraq, with close to 20 grand in my cargo pockets. So that was an interesting experience.
Were you caught, or did you?
Well, I mean, I caught. I told people when I got to the airport, and I'm talking with all the other military guys that I'm meeting up with that were flying back to I had a situation in Vegas. I made a ton of money and I have it on me right now. So what am I gonna do? And they're like, yeah, we'll decide when we get down range because we're kind of en route right now. We have to keep on going. We can't not go back.
Yeah.
So when I got back to Mosul, I had to talk with the finance department. I had to explain my situation. I had to sign an affidavit saying that, I didn't do this like running a child slavery ring or anything terrible like that. This is, Vegas money. I just got back. And so it was a ridiculous situation. But, it was something else.
Okay. Do you have any photographs or souvenirs? I know you talked about the coin that you received. Did they let you keep, say, your rifle? Or?
Oh, no. They don't let you keep weapons. They get a tight leash on their weapons. Even when it's your weapon and when you're using it, you have to sign that out, and they know who has it and why and for what purpose. So I mean, there's no souvenir rifles. But one thing I did keep was a little keychain from my time downrange, the Mosul, Iraq 0709 Task Force Iron keychain. So that was pretty cool.
What did you think of your fellow officers, or your fellow soldiers and officers, I should say?
It's a mixed bag. You have people that you're honored to serve with and you're inspired to serve with, and it's like, this is the kind of guy that I want to be when I'm older, that set excellent examples. And then you have jokers and druggies and thugs in uniform, and it's like, oh. So I mean,
Yeah.
you make the best of what you got. You know, you got to
true.
have a certain degree of resiliency with who you're working beside.
Okay. Did you keep a personal diary? Something that you...
I almost did once or twice, but I mean, I did it when I was in the middle of being deployed, and it was like, today was another boring day in the desert. And I mean, like, it exhausted me to write the journal. It wasn't like useful or exceptional or inspiring or anything. It was just like, I'm done with this. I'm not gonna keep writing this.
Yeah. Speaking of the desert, did Texas prepare you for Iraq, where you're going, in terms of heat-wise, or was it a different type of heat out there in Iraq?
Let me throw some numbers out you for you.
All right.
Texas can regularly get like 110. You know,
Yeah.
like that's pretty hot.
Yeah.
Iraq summers are like 120. And before I was actually like in Iraq, I was in Kuwait, being getting ready in deployment training.
Yeah.
And there it can be 140. So you step outside, it's like stepping under a blow dryer. And that was coming from Alaska, where the summers can get to -40. So it was an interesting temperature range. Texas, Texas did its best, but there's not a lot of preparing you for that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. What did you go on and do as a career? I understand you're still a student right now. Are you doing that part-time and have a job on the side, or is this...
No, I'm doing this full-time. The GI benefits that I get from the military, they take care of me pretty well. So, I mean, I don't really need to do any extraneous work. I'm pretty much just doing full-time student, looking at doing the broadcasting, getting into radio, television, something like that. So,
okay. Did your military experience influence your thinking? Did you become, say, more of an aggressor, or because some people go in the military after their combat, they're more, looking for that adrenaline rush, and some people just don't want anything to do with confrontation. They're more,
much more laid back.
Yeah, much more laid back.
It didn't really make me more aggressive, so to speak. It definitely forced me to prepare myself to be a warrior, so to speak, to fire my weapon in earnest, if you will.
Okay.
So just preparing myself for that, just having that bit in my psychological toolbox, if that makes any kind of a sense, just adjusting to that sense of responsibility. And a lot of other soldiers and veterans will say this, that I mean, one of the scariest things when you're actually in combat, when you're firing a weapon, is not, am I protecting myself? It's like, am I protecting my team? Is the mission going well? You know what I'm saying? It's a bigger than me kind of a weight, of a responsibility. So just preparing myself to accept that kind of a shoulder that burden.
Yeah. Okay. Are you in any veteran organizations right now?
No club. I mean, not that I'm against them, but I don't know. People say that they're a veteran, that gives them a sense of brotherhood.
Yeah.
But if you haven't served in the same place or with the same people or under the same job, I mean, it's a very wide organization. It's a lot of different kinds of possible experiences that you may have had. So just saying, I wore the flag on my shoulder, it's like, well, that's great, but that doesn't really tell me anything about you. That doesn't, I mean, having sworn the oath, that's a pretty big deal, but it doesn't make me feel any closer to them necessarily.
That's true. We talked about earlier how the military lifestyle kind of changed your inner you, more of being able to fight when necessary. Is there a physical change that people can notice? Like, say, are you more punctual on time to places, or are you...
I mean, just having a job helped me be punctual. They don't pay you if you don't show up.
That's
but
true.
I think as far as the difference in military life, I stopped messing around.
No nonsense.
Yeah, no nonsense. If there's something productive to be done, something useful to be doing, like, I don't like it when people derail the event. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they're, I mean, you got something funny to say, something engaging that you can do as like a quick side comment, like as a sprinkle, that's fine. But if takes longer than a couple of minutes to resolve whatever hoo-haws you're getting up to, that's taking too much.
Yeah, it's true. All right. Is there anything else you would like to add that we have not covered in this interview, or
No, I feel pretty good about it.
any advice that you'd like to give anybody who's out there going to enlist?
It is a lot. The military gives and it gives. It gives and it takes.
Yeah.
So, want what it'll give and be prepared to lose what it can take.
Okay. Wise comment.
Thank you.
All right, Nick. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
I said your line. Anyway, this is Salim Killo with Richland Chronicle News. Signing out.